Nurturing what you begin, the power of consistency, a conversation. Now, listen to this today. We are talking about what it really means to nurture what you begin. And joining me is someone who's walked that journey of growth and consistency right beside us, our own creative mind at the Holistic Health Hub. That's H3 Services. For over 11 years, he's been building digital experiences that inspire and has brought every part of this podcast to life. Now, let's dive into how consistency has shaped his story, his craft, and even our own growth here at the Hope Ignites Healing podcast. Welcome to the Hope Ignites Healing podcast with your host, Dr. Lillian Kalisa, a space where we speak everything holistic health and healing. This is a space for women especially who are seeking to find healing, that is, from a place of inner completeness, making small, simple, and yet tangible steps towards full health, and therefore a lifestyle of healing. In this space, we believe in the 1948 definition of health, that health is a state of complete emotional, physical, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. And through my personal story and all the medical knowledge gathered through the years, this is now the mantra with which I live my life and teach others to do the same. Now let's redefine health together, shall we? Welcome to Season 4, The Rebirth. My friend. That's what I want to call you today. As always, it is such a pleasure. It feels like it's the first time that I'm serving you, my friend. My dear listener, it's always good to have you on here at the Hope Ignites Healing podcast. Thank you so much for joining in one more time. I am sure it will be worth it. And because of the quest to remain consistent with you, my audience, this has come yet another time. We're showing up every time, over and over again, and we are going to more and more episodes, specifically made for you, my listener. And I am so honored and excited to be the one seated right here speaking to you. Now, if you were present in the last podcast when we introduced the power of consistency, if you didn't get it, please go back and listen, because that goes right into this podcast. Because guess what? This is the first time we're having a joint conversation of this season, or should I say, of the Hope Ignites Healing podcast ever. A dream come true. And it couldn't have been a better time than now when we are talking about the power of consistency, nurturing what you begin, the conversation. Now, we often, as people, talk about starting afresh, but this is the truth. What keeps us really going after new beginnings is consistency. That word. Now, joining me today is a gentleman who has not only embraced rebirth, yes, a gentleman, who has not only embraced rebirth in our season, in our growth here at the Hope Ignites Healing podcast, but has also lived out consistency as a way of life. One of the first people to professionally hear my deep hidden passion from within back in the day when I so desired to put this message of healing, hope and healing out there. About Hope Ignites Healing, that this heals emotional and mental well-being and physical health and enables you to have thriving social well-being. He was one of the first people that had this dream professionally. Now, I'll tell you that he is our IT specialist at the H3 Services. Now, all you see before your eyes, producing this podcast, the graphics under the Holistic Health Hub, the website of the Holistic Health Hub, that's www.drlilh3.com, everything. This is the guy. And listen to this. Thomas is a passionate digital experiences builder, spanning web development as a niche to digital, audio, and graphic media services. Guess what? He's been doing this for over 11 years. Yes, believe it or not. Now, my people, My people, my friend, welcome with me, Thomas Kaisuka, to the Hope Ignites Healing podcast. Thomas, what an honor and a pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you, Dr. Lillian, for having me. I'm pleased to be here, and I'm hoping we're going to have very insightful conversations about the power of consistency.
Yes. It's so nice, Thomas. You remember when we started at the Hope Ignites Healing podcast, it was once upon a time a dream that one day we shall have it a duo or a triple, and here is the time. So thank you so much for accepting to be our first guest on the podcast.
You're welcome, Dr. Lillian.
All right, so let's get into our discussion already. Let's start with discussing, as our guests are eager to hear. I know I introduced the topic of consistency, but let's hear it from someone else. Now, people often think consistency means doing the same thing every single day without fail. But from my perspective, it's not about perfection. I think it's about persistence. Thomas, how do you define consistency in your own life?
Very interesting question that I've been thinking about for quite some time, but this is my definition of consistency. Consistency generally is defined as a repetitive set of activities people do to achieve something, maybe a rhythm. But personally, my definition of consistency, I define it as stepping out of the norm. You step out of the norm, and you create your own, I can call it norm, more like a redefinition of a rebirth, not using the ordinary definition of consistency. You do things differently, you redefine them, you radicalize on how I achieve consistency. So my consistency definition comes with stepping out of the norm, and it also involves removing any negative things, because when you try to achieve a certain path, society will always be against you. But my definition of consistency is I come up with my own formula of achieving something. That is, I choose what I want to do, stick to it, and then eliminate the background sound. Those are the naysayers, I call it the background noise. Because every time you try to achieve a rhythm in consistency based on how my journey came about, you find there's a lot of background sound. So eliminate the background sound, then create a society, or I can say create a communication group of like-minded people that believe, that do the things you do, that you can share things with, and create that rhythm. Because every time you try, personally, when I tried to come up with my formula for consistency, I was getting a lot of naysayers because of the way I radicalized my approach. So that is, decrease the background sound, block off the naysayers, have an organized society or group of people that are like-minded and can feed into the energy of what you want to achieve. Not the usual. That's how I define consistency. As our conversation goes forward, I'll be delving more in how I achieved my consistency journey.
Wow. Thank you so much, Thomas. I remember when this idea came out of talking about consistency as a podcast, you and I were reviewing how far we've come with this Hope Ignites Healing podcast, just dreaming and keeping going, even when it didn't make sense. So what I'm hearing from you are two things. You've talked about stepping out of the norm as your definition, and then silencing the background noise.
Yes.
I love that so much. That already is freeing to anybody who is thinking that they have to follow a narrative.
No, there's no narrative to follow. You have to define your own, what you want to achieve, block off background sound, get like-minded people who are in line with what you do. Okay? Then keep repeating, doing what you want to achieve. But we shall be delving more into this, but that is just a snapshot.
I can't wait for that. Now, Thomas, that this season is called the Rebirth, our season 4 of the podcast. In your own journey, have you had a rebirth moment, like that time when you talk about you stepped out of the norm? and then you chose to silence the background noise. Have you had a rebirth moment where consistency really made the difference for you and enabled you to propel into your vision and create more impact? Do you want to give us a snapshot of that, Thomas?
Okay. My journey in what I'm doing is very interesting, and it was quite interesting the time I met Dr. Lillian. I was in a transitioning period. So my journey started in a very interesting way when I chose to focus on this niche, just like we defined in who I am. So my inspiration behind what I do is it came about in the lockdown period, as everyone knows, during the lockdown part 1, everything came to a standstill, and I had a moment, and I realized I could actually do more of what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And at the time we reached the lockdown, I had been suffering from burnout in my job, and I told myself, okay, I'm suffering from burnout. 2, I don't feel accomplished in my job. I feel like I'm a caged bird, because the one thing I'm passionate about is website development. And in the period I'd done that job 4 years, I had only designed 2-3 websites. But I told myself, look here, how can I make this disadvantage to my advantage? So I chose to make a radical decision of stepping out of my job at the time. Of course, everyone ridiculed me, and I was like, oh my God, it's a lockdown, you're going to have it rough. But I told them, you know what? Watch me, because I just clocked 30 and I promised myself. Yes. So there are things that I promised myself that I would achieve by 2020, and they didn't come to pass. And I told myself, it is time to step out. So when I stepped out, the reason how I came up with my definition of consistency, I realized there are a lot of naysayers, from my workmates, a few friends circles, some relatives. So I told myself, okay, look here, can you find a way of eliminating that noise? So I call it background noise. Okay. I was taking the lockdown to my advantage, though it was a disadvantage. So I have burnout, there's a lockdown, and I'm trying to clean out. Dr. Ian has always talked about cleaning out, but now I was trying to clean out. I was trying to clean out that burnout, and I wanted to follow my passion. So I started on this journey as a solopreneur. Okay, just came up randomly during the lockdown, and like I mentioned earlier, in my job, yes, I was happy at my work, but I had a lot of burnout due to a lot of work that was on me at the time. But again, I was trying to use that situation of feeling burnout. How can I best articulate what I'm good at? And I loved web designing. And I told myself, I've only designed 3 websites. Can I really step out? I felt like a caged bird. And I said, no, I want to be impactful. So I decided to leave that job, okay, at the end of the lockdown. That was crazy. And I didn't tell any relatives at the time. But there was a lot of background noise, so many naysayers. So I had a period where I cut off some people, okay? And I stayed at this, okay, that time I didn't have so many responsibilities. I only had myself to look after. And I kept on doing this. I learned a lot of web design during that lockdown period, especially the part 2. And during that time, I happened to meet like-minded characters. I have a friend of mine called Raymond. I realized we are like-minded characters, and I started resonating to more of what he says. And I found, okay, this guy actually understands what I'm trying to achieve. So we started having these long meetings online, discussing about how we want to promote our companies, how we want to create systems, how we want to automate things in our companies. And actually, we kept applying these things, and little by little, everything came together. Everything came together, Dr. Lillian. And Dr. Lillian, I can tell you, within the phase of just 3 years, I designed so many websites, over 15 websites.
And that's how I met you. And that's how you were referred to me by somebody you had done good work for. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was doing this same thing repetitively. I was feeling accomplished. I was creating a rhythm. I was getting to meet people in different professions. And I realized my open-mindedness in 2020 actually made me meet people outside my workplace, doctors, lawyers. Oh my God, I've met so many people from different walks. So just to emphasize on my definition of consistency, I stepped out, overcame the background noise, kept doing this thing. I call it silent success. No one should see it. Because sometimes when naysayers don't see things working, they'll be like, oh, it's not working out. But I define it as silent success. Keep quiet, do your thing. Okay?
And keep going. Yes.
Let them see when it's manifest and they're like, oh, okay. And even the character, the people, like-minded people, the number keeps expanding. I had a chance for the first time of interacting directly with CEOs of companies, something I couldn't do before. So this is how far I have come. And I'm hoping that can give us a more explanation of how I define consistency.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Wow. Thank you so much, Thomas, for that. I hear, a lot happened in the transition period. You've called it the transition period, but a lot happened in the 2020, 21, 22, especially 2020 COVID-19 lockdown.
Yes.
And what you called it was your transition period. This is what I hear from what you said, Thomas, that there was time for burnout. And I think for me, that is mental health. There was burnout.
Yes.
And then you took us through the process you needed to clean out. That was you managing, the mental health. And then you went ahead and silenced the noise so that you could have silent success. I feel that is you working your mental health so that you're able enough to step out. And then you finally stepped out in web designing.
Yes.
And then what you've said is that you did it over and over again, even when no one was watching. You kept going over and over again. And in just 1 year, you were able to do so much more than you did in the last 4 years of being employed, right?
Yes. And even to add on to that, I got a chance of teaching, and I realized no one actually knew I'd started lecturing. I was approached by a director of an institute.
And you were teaching in web design as well, right?
I was teaching web design, and I realized I became better and better over the years. And trust me, I have never felt accomplished. It's the best feeling. It's the best feeling when you turn that you turn that passion into a money maker.
Yeah.
After the years of silent success, and people begin seeing results, and they're like, okay, everyone just keeps quiet and just watches the movie, if I may say.
I like how you call it silent success, because for sure it has been silent success. And my listeners that are out there listening to this, one might probably wonder, what does this have to do with health and healthy living? Ladies and gentlemen, if you're there, mental health is the foundation. Your mind has to be determined to make it work. And this resonates so much with our principles at the Holistic Health Hub, at the podcast. We often say that a rebirth is not a one-time event. And if you remember, Thomas, when I was starting, I focused a lot on hope. And I said, hope is not a one-time moment. It's everything. It's what you do every day until you get your healing. It's a process. And I hear that that's exactly what you're saying. And consistency is a glue that holds that process together. Consistency is that thing that keeps you from that burnout you got and the excellent web designing we're having, or from that burnout and meeting Dr. Lillian, right?
Yes, exactly. Stepping out. You've actually talked. It is one of your podcasts talks about stepping out.
Absolutely.
Yes. People wonder what stepping out. Stepping out doesn't mean going to the club. No, it means stepping out of that bad space, that negative space. It can be anything, So yes.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying that. What's stepping out? And true, ladies and gentlemen who might be listening, you look for the podcast of Stepping Out, or just put Dr. Lillian on Stepping Out. It's something we've said over and over again. And Thomas and I practice exactly what we share or what we are working on to give to our audience, because he's in the background. He gets to listen to each and everything that I've prepared for you, my listeners. So holistic living means looking at every part of our lives. That means your mind, like Thomas has said, your body, your spirit, your emotions. Thomas talked about vision. No, he talked about passion. He said passion led him to do something that others didn't understand he was doing. Thomas,
Yes,
back to you.
Mm.
What are some consistent practices that help you to remain grounded well? Because I'm sure there's a lot of distraction. The noise does come out. What have you learned from us working together on our podcast and in my Hope Ignites Healing, the H3 Services business, Holistic Health Hub?
Yes.
What have you learned working with me or working together that helps you to promote consistency into your life and even support others to do the same?
Okay.
So what are some of the consistent practices? Yes, please.
That's a very interesting question. So one of the things I maybe didn't highlight earlier is that I build websites, and the softwares I use for building websites are not used by many. There's the software that actually used for building my websites is called the Drupal Content Management System. And I've realized it's not used by many, but I chose to make that my niche because I wanted to grow in a particular area. So, and I've realized over time, I've been able to relate with people in that space. You know, that it's a small space, but very impactful in terms of open source softwares. So when I read successful stories from those people, they're not in Uganda here, but when I read their successful stories and I see what they've accomplished, it gives me inspiration to keep pushing, and you find yourself actually interacting with them more. Sometimes they think I'm Japanese because of my Kaisuka name until maybe they see my profile. That is one of the things. So I like I told you, I step out of the norm. I interact with different head spaces, not the usual, oh my God, this is the most used software we should use. No, I step out of the norm. Then two, of course, the consistency comes with having a routine that you follow. Okay. You be disciplined, because, for example, working at home doesn't mean you should wake up and wear a boxer and walk around the house. Wake up in the morning, dress up, shower, sit and work. Have your routine for the day like before. Of course, that's what everyone advises, which works for me also. I have a routine. I have a to-do list. I use the reminders app on my iPhone to create all these routines and reminders and timelines. Because remember, you're a boss of yourself. No one's going to come to you. Okay? Then journaling. That's number one. That's number three. A resting routine. Okay? You also need a resting routine. Like you won't work yourself and like working like there's no tomorrow. The mind needs to rest. Okay? Then another thing I've realized, being humble with clients and treating them equally. Because I've realized over time that those clients I started with that don't really pay very much, but when you interact with them, however little a client is paying you, even if right now you have clients that are paying you even 10 times or 100 times what you are paid, you have to be humble. Treat those clients the same way. Let them not feel like because you've grown, they don't mean anything. And even when you have people working, and even when you have someone working for you and they go and tell you, oh my God, that client's invoice is small, why even giving them priority? Tell them, you don't know how far I have come. Okay? If it means firing that person, please do. Because they're forgetting that you climbed up that ladder, there are people you left or you met along the way. So every client treated equally, and trust me, they'll love you for that. They will never feel any deficiency, even when you grow and they realize Guy is now a multi-millionaire, but they really know, oh my God, we pay this guy a little, but he cares. Now that actually creates more referrals because they just love the experience. So whoever comes to work for you in my situation, they have to know that, hey, that client pays maybe this amount of money for maintenance a month, which is little compared to the other one. But those people had me when I didn't have the big ones, because I came from the small ones to get the big ones. Okay. Then, and I've had the chance of doing work for so many female clients, and I've realized that female clients, when they are happy with the work you do for them, they easily refer. I'm not saying I don't like male clients, but I'm just talking from experience. And just like any woman loves care, if you give your female clients that care, oh my God, it's a magic. It's magic. They'll be like, that guy cares, you know? Yeah, it's you're giving that customer experience. Then another point to note, diet. Okay? Eating unnecessarily is not allowed. If you're going to be in a space where maybe you have access to food, you can just walk to the fridge and get whatever you want to eat. And maybe, let's say it's 10 p.m. and you walk into the fridge to eat because you're working transnight, you're going to gain weight. And when you gain a lot of weight, there's a way the body slows down, your routine slows down. You feel slow, you feel heavy. You have to have a strict eating routine, because eating at weird hours in the night, there's the way the mind just becomes bogged, you know? So watch your weight, watch what you eat. Don't feel like, oh my God, I can eat anything at any time. Okay? So those are some of the things I have tried to adopt. There are so many things I have done. Okay? But those are some of the things I have. There are so many things that I've done to actually give me the consistency, but those are some of the points I have noted along the journey. Yes.
Thank you, Thomas. I like it. I mean, if you're listening to this message every week and you're publishing it to people, you'd better be the one practicing it first, right?
Yes, very true. Very true.
Absolutely. So, in your sharing, I had something about scheduling. I had you creating a unique niche around using software that builds particular podcasts, a place that's smaller. It's not the big one, it is the smaller one. I've had you talking about making a resting routine, being humble with your clients. That reminds me of how I promote, or how we learn, we are taught about patient-centered care in clinical practice, where every patient should be like the only person you're going to see for the season. That way you give them undivided care. And that is true growth. And then you bring in diet. It cuts across, exactly. And then you bring in diet and healthy living. Now, Thomas, I believe that from what you are sharing, it's not coincidence that you're where you are. These are routines that you've purposed to set out. And where you started by talking about you choosing the smaller software, or a niche that is unique and smaller, so is consistency. When we choose consistent practices, you'll be the minority when you choose discipline, when you choose consistency. And I'll tell you, for me, I've chosen consistent routines like journaling, which you've talked about as well, having a morning routine being a non-negotiable for me, similar to things you're talking about. But the result is that you get better productivity at the end of it all. That is just, I'm just beefing up from what you've said. But here is our discussion, Thomas. Consistency and setting goals. So you started off by setting a goal, you got a passion in there, and you got yourself going. This is what it usually looks like. January often comes with big goals. But as the months pass, most of us lose the steam and the vigor. Why do you think consistency is the missing piece between people setting goals and actually achieving them?
Okay. So in my perspective, I'll first hint on the point where we talked about the small software space. Maybe some of the listeners may not understand that. So there's the website development ecosystem is very wide. The people who use WordPress, the people who use Wix. But the reason why I chose to use the Drupal CMS, I wanted to have a small space I can play around with and create a sphere of influence, because I realized,
that's
even
unique.
That's unique. So I create a small space and become known for that. And actually, I've gotten clients online because of that. So you create a small space where there's not so much chaos, and you create, I call it sphere of influence. This is something I have this is the discussion I have with my friend Raymond. We talk about how do you be a sphere of influence in a particular area. Okay. Already, for example, the WordPress community is very wide. The Drupal community is not very wide. I can make noise here. Okay. I can be consistently doing this for over 20 years and keep making that noise until I achieve resonance. Now, resonance in physics, maybe in a brief, is I can say whereby something keeps vibrating until everything around it vibrates, okay, at the same frequency. So, when you're setting goals, okay, you have to first define your space. Many times we set goals and we lose our track along the way. Now, the reason why I hinted about the small software community that I use, you are able to actually set goals easily. That is my perspective. So when you're setting goals, get that space that is not overcrowded and focus on that. So for example, let's say you say, this year I have to buy a car, if that is what you want to do. And you set a goal and say, what's the car I have to buy? Let's say it's 25 million. Then you realize, okay, but for 25 million, what am I going to get? Okay. And there's lots of choices. So you instead of saying I want to buy a car, say know which car you want to buy and which model. If your goal is to buy a Subaru, you're working towards a Subaru. Most people say I want to buy a car this year and they set the goal and they don't achieve it. Because they reach along the way and they find, oh my God, I found a guy with the Eractis, I found a guy with the Anipsam, I found a guy with the Sienta. Maybe Sienta is more economical. So a lot is going on in your head. People are talking about fuel consumption and everything. You're confused. Just say, if you want to buy a Subaru, that is it. Don't even deviate. So for me, my consistency, how I define it, I said, okay, if I'm going to say I want to be the best web developer, maybe in X, after a number of years in this industry, I didn't choose WordPress because it's overcrowded. Okay. I went for Drupal C.M.S because there's an opportunity in there, but my perspective is different in how I approach it, and I realized I could create an influence online. That doesn't necessarily to be in Uganda, but it can be global. People will know you globally, so that was more achievable. That even when you Google me and maybe say Drupal developers in Uganda, I'll be on the first page because I realized this space I can shine. But that doesn't mean I can't use other softwares. So first go for that smaller thing which you can achieve first and say, okay, I've achieved this. Then you gradually. So if you set a goal and say, I want to buy a car this year, don't just say you want to buy a car. Know the model of the car. Okay. Know the year of manufacturing that you're going for, because you reach along the way and you're going to find a 2012 car is more expensive than a 2023 car. And you're like, what is this? So know the car you want to buy, know the year. Okay. Say, I'm not buying a car below 2015. That is your goal. What car should it be? So that you're working towards that. If you just say you want to buy a car, my dear, you end up with what you didn't expect. So that is how I define goal setting. Like I said, I'm stepping out of the norm. I'm not going to say KPIs and everything. No. I go for the small space, fight with the small elephant, overcome it, then move the next step, because technology keeps changing in our space. So from the small softwares, when I'm good at using the Drupal CMS because it's a small community, now I'm moving to other technologies. I'm moving into building data science driven applications, because that's the trend in technology. And how can I make best of that space? Using the Drupal CMS has taught me more programming than I ever knew while using the WordPress CMS. So that is how I define consistency. Maybe we could have another discussion on this, but that is how I define consistency in terms of stepping out of the norms.
Yes, awesome, Thomas. And you've put much emphasis on getting a space that's not crowded and focus on it.
Yes.
I like how you've put emphasis on defining the goal, define the detail. What does it look like? And I know that in holistic, living and the programs I share with women, I told them, visualize, define your goal. What does it look like? What do you want? Because you're going to a direction you don't even know. And that is overwhelming in your mind when you don't know where you're going. So you never have a target of what have I achieved? Where am I going? How long will I take? So thank you for making that very simple. That is extremely beautifully said. So for anyone listening, my listeners, back to you. A rebirth, as we are talking about in this season, it is truly exciting. And sometimes it's vague. You don't know what to expect. But I will tell you that consistency is what makes it last. Now, we have worked on this journey for a while with Mr. Thomas. What are some of the closing remarks, Thomas, that you want to share with our audience? How has consistency made you win? I know you've said so much, but how do you wrap it up? And as you finish, where do people find you to get a glimpse of what we have received at the Hope Ignites Healing podcast?
Okay. Thomas Kaisuka is my name, as earlier introduced, and I'm a CEO of Century Marvel Digital Solutions, which is a short name C.M.S Digital.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you can Google Thomas C.M.S Digital, you'll find me there. Now, I had an interesting question asked by someone to me last week, and they said, Thomas, what cost should someone do to do what you do? Then I told them, okay, if you're going to be consistent in whatever you want to achieve, passion, like besides leave alone the course someone should do, the first course one needs to do is passion. And I actually remember telling one of the students where I lecture part-time, I told him, if you're not passionate about this, you're in the wrong place. I'm sorry you've paid your tuition, but if you're not passionate, you're in the wrong place. So even if you're going to be consistent at something, if there's no passion, trust me, you will try to be consistent at losing weight, but still go back to eating, stress eating at 2 a.m. because you're not passionate about looking good in that nice dress you want to fit in. So passion. Be consistent there, but there's passion. Passion can be another topic, but trust me, passion is very important if you're going to achieve consistent in something. Because if you're consistent at something, you articulate, you make the money, you grow. So those are my last words. Because someone asked me, what course should someone do to do what you do? I told them the first course they must do is passion. And the passion, like, what do you mean? So passion, then you go and delve in whatever you want to achieve. So first create a passion for something, then build a rhythm. Actually, me, I go beyond passion. I'm obsessed. When I love motorsports, I'm not just passionate about it, I'm obsessed. When I love website designing, I'm not passionate about it, I'm obsessed. I would even tell you I'm sick because I want to go on my computer and do the website thing that was disturbing me, but I'll tell you I was sick. I am obsessed. But of course, remember to balance life. You need people, you need to be social. People keep saying we IT guys are nerds. No, you need people. So plan your routine, okay? Know when to interact with people. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
wow.
Please.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Thomas. We really appreciate. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and journey with us. My dear listeners, if you're looking for Thomas, right? If you're looking for Thomas and all the detail he has shared with C.M.S Digital, just go to our website. If you're my listener, that's www.drlilh3.com. On that website is Thomas, basically. Every detail you see right at the bottom of the website, you will see the link that will lead you towards Thomas' work. So thank you so much, Thomas, for every growth you've brought to this space. You've reminded us that rebirth is not magic. It's a consistent walk, step by step, day by day. But you have to start somewhere. You have to define your vision, define where you're going. You have to silence the naysayers, like you call them, the negativity, and then you have to step out. And when you step out, whatever simple, unique status you've chosen, do it over and over and over again, right?
Yes, please.
So, to our listeners, I hope that today's conversation sparks not just a fresh start, but a steady rhythm in your life that keeps you moving towards wholeness. I want to remind you where we started from: small disciplines, repeated with consistency every day, lead us to great achievements gained slowly over time, said John C. Maxwell. And that's exactly what Thomas has shared with us today. Until next time, igniting hope, keep showing up, keep glowing, keep taking care of your health, keep healing, and keep living well. I've been your host as usual, Dr. Lillian Kalisa, here at the Hope Ignites Healing podcast, intent on inspiring you to thrive through holistic living and to add the glow to medicine. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.